Good evening, Avram. I am not currently hearing you. Let's see. I have you all muted. Now I should hear you.
Okay, how about now?
There we go. Oh, I see why. Because that one still exists. Okay. Got it.
Man.
Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. I'm currently trying to figure out an issue with a new streaming platform, but I'm not going to be solving that tonight.
Yep.
Don't know why it's not working. It is now asking me for 2FA, but it never asked me for 2FA before, so I didn't get to set it up. So, uh-oh.
All right.
Hopefully it won't become too big of a problem. Anyway, hello.
Hey.
How are things?
All right. I'm trying to think of what is the best thing to talk about. Well, let's see. I spent a lot of time the last couple of weeks interviewing people uh, about AI lawsuits, but I don't know. Maybe that's getting boring. Um, let's see. What else would be exciting? Prime Day is coming up,
True.
but I have to be honest and say that at the moment there aren't a lot of exciting Prime Day sales, but it hasn't started yet, so who
Right.
knows? Maybe by Tuesday there will be.
Ironically, the most
Um,
interesting Prime Day sale is 50% off Walmart Plus.
well, I mean, listen, Prime Day is many things, right?
Yeah.
Um, so Prime Day is still um, many things. Um,
All
I
things to
mean, I
all
mean, what I
people.
mean is, but I mean is, it's not just Amazon; it's a lot of
Right.
stuff, right? So, um, so let's see.
Is it
Well,
possible that I just haven't... Okay, no. I'll just say, is it possible that I just haven't gone live yet? No, that's not it.
well, you know what? We didn't talk about
Come on to...
glaze.
There we go.
Um, yeah, you know what? All right. I think we could talk about protecting your work from, or if you possibly can, from manipulation.
Yeah.
There's, I mean, to just today there was another lawsuit filed by Sarah Silverman of
Sarah
all
Silverman.
people.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw that
and
one.
like three other people. Like the guy who's behind a lot of these lawsuits, I've interviewed him, and now he and I email a bit, but he won't like give me a direct comment on the individual lawsuit. Um, but yeah, she is apparently like they've got a number of different uh, lawsuits going on. Uh,
Okay.
so there's that. Then there was a tool called Glaze that came out
Mm-hmm.
that allows you to sort of obscure your artistic work um, that I can actually demo. And then there's
That would be cool.
well, yeah, I have it running here. And then there's what was I going to? And then there's the you know the controversy about Gizmodo. Did you hear about that, or did you
No.
not? So Geo Media, which owns Gizmodo and Deadspin, decided on third Wednesday or Thursday, I think Wednesday, to start publishing their first AI written articles. and they really embarrassed themselves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they really embarrassed themselves. Uh, they had to issue a correction. It was not good. But anyway, yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff like that, which I'd rather talk about than Prime Day because there's nothing that exciting to say about Prime Day at the moment. Because uh, although I should say that Isaac wants me to. Isaac put in a request that I talk to you about this game that we're making, but I don't think it's quite ready for prime time. So. He said if I show it to you, he wants to come in the room and show it to you. uh,
Can you send us an email from the account that's attached to from the address attached to your account? No. It's a relay account. No, I cannot. Anybody who's watching right now, because I see there's some live viewers, can you do me a favor and go to kick.com/PLUGHITZ live for me? And see if that does anything. Because it's possible I'm getting a false result because I'm at the source. I'm grasping at straws right now. I think in reality, I've been booted out.
I don't know.
But, I mean, their support is responding quickly. So for those who don't know, Kick.com is a new streaming platform that is trying to compete with Twitch. In fact, it is damn near pixel for pixel Twitch. I'm having an interesting login issue right now. So, anyway, I will be apparently interacting with them throughout the show. We'll see. Anyway. All right. And I guess you saw everything else?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Cool. My brain is all over the place tonight. I apologize to the live viewers for that. All right. I will hit record here. And start here. And here we go. This week, Apple's wall is coming down. Robot Cash is growing up. Threads is confusing everyone. And Reddit is protecting users again. It's Sunday, July 9th, 2023, and this is episode 650 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, or Threads, through our live streaming services, livestream.com, Twitch, our new friends at Kick, or YouTube, where you can join the community and get ad-free episodes of F5 Live and Piltch Point, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. If you're not able to do that, that's okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and a whole lot more. And of course, you'll find all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. All right, it's been too long, Avram. We've been off for way too long, and it's great to be back. I've missed you.
Yes, same. Oh, yes, it has been a long time, and I'm at the beginning of a very long week, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad to be here. I I have I don't want to talk too much about it, but I have Prime Day duty this week, which is that time of year when I have to stay up for several days in a row, so I can make sure that we put up lots of deal coverage on our website because that's the thing. So I've been trying to come up with my Prime Day 2023 Spotify playlist. So
Okay.
if anyone had, I have like 50 things on here that are songs that have some relationship to writing about, to having to deal with Prime Day. I mean, if you're a consumer, it's the fine. You don't have to deal with Prime Day. You could just, find deals that you like and save some money, which is great. I think that's wonderful. But part of our job is to help bring you that advice, which means advice on which deals to find, which is great. Please visit us at tomshardware.com for that. But it means some work. So you know, uh, I've put some songs on my list like "Up All Night," uh, "No Sleep Till Brooklyn," uh, "Taking Care of Business,"
Sure.
uh, "Delivering the Goods," uh, "Pressure," "Cruel Summer," "Working Day and Night," uh, "Heat of the Moment." Anyway,
Okay.
so yes, some I uh, some ideas on there. Um, uh,
Oh, I love it.
oh, "Burning for You." Um, so "Falling to Pieces." Um, so anyway, yeah. So uh, that's what's going to be going on the next couple of days. But other than that, things are fine.
Good. Good.
My son and I are working on building a video game. Building a video game that we've been working on for a long time, and we get only a little time at a time to work on it. But it's on
Yeah.
this like LED matrix, and like it looks like Mario, and you can like move your Mario character around and jump using these buttons behind here. So, you know, uh, that's something we're working on, hoping to have that for a maker fair in October.
Nice.
Um, and you know, that's the that's the week. That's the
I
last few weeks.
I almost wore my
And,
Gulf Coast MakerCon shirt tonight, so that
oh,
would have been a good
cool.
tie-in there. I'll wear it when you get far enough to show off the progress.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have to have a couple things, not just this.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna have this, and I think I'm gonna try to do something with gesture detection. I'd really like to do where you can hold your hand in front of a camera and control something,
Mm-hmm.
like using it. Um, so we'll see.
Reminds me of the company we had on at CES that you could control the robotic arm using your fingers in front of a camera.
Yeah, that would be cool. Having it control something, I think would be cool. I want to have it so that it's done like with a Raspberry Pi or even a Pico,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do, and then like maybe it sort of takes an LED matrix like this one and like puts an imprint of your hand or something
Oh,
to
that'd be
show where
cool.
your fingers are, you know. But we'll see how far we get with that. But hopefully we'll get somewhere.
Well, very cool. Over here, we've been doing a lot of stuff. We've done a bunch of unboxings. I'm looking down here because there is a stack of product related to those unboxings. I've got a pet vacuum cleaner over here for grooming dogs and cats.
Who knew you could keep a vacuum cleaner as a pet?
Exactly. I mean, if you have a Roomba, you can certainly feel a little bit like it's a pet. And then headphones from our friends at Altec Lansing, and twinkly dots. We're gonna have a whole bunch of products showing up on our unboxed feed and our how-to feed, because a lot of these products we're going to be doing how-tos on as well. So definitely check those out if you're watching us over on YouTube. There's a playlist for both of them, so check that out as well. And for continual Monster fans, we have a new Monster product unboxing and how-to coming as well. So, like I said, lots of stuff going on. This whole corner next to me is just stacked with nonsense. So, look for all of that stuff. But we've been gone for a while. We've got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. So let's get right down to it. Are you hearing sound, Avram?
I am not.
Okay, let's try this again, shall we? This is the wrong frame. I apologize for everybody watching live. The other people won't see it. Let's figure out what has gone wrong, shall we? Which one is this? F5 Live opening, Gadgets opening. Maybe that'll work. Let's see. No. Okay, well, if you're watching live tonight, there's not going to be any ads or bumpers, so enjoy that. You've got a night off. I don't know what's happening. We'll try the next one, too, and see if it works, but I don't suspect it will. Anyway, so we've talked a lot over the years, I suppose, about Apple's walled garden. The company is very well known for keeping their stuff internal. Everything is designed, built, and controlled by Apple, and that includes the stuff that you're allowed to put on your own device. The concept is itself divisive. Some people love the idea that they don't have to worry about installing certain things, and it's all just this one streamlined process. Other people would like more control over what they can and cannot do with their devices. And so, you know, there's got to be a middle ground somewhere in there. Maybe. Apple doesn't want to find a middle ground, but we continue to see the European Union force them into some sort of a middle ground. A couple of years ago, there was an incident, a situation where they started to require all phone manufacturers to use micro USB. Apple said, how about we include a micro USB adapter in the box? And the EU said, okay, I guess that will work. And so Apple continued to use the Lightning connector. Now that's going to change. The iPhone 15 theoretically will be the first device with USB-C. In the iPhone category, we'll see in 2 months whether or not that's the case. But all of the leaks, all of the renders appear to show USB-C, and that's because of the European Union. A couple weeks ago, we got word that one of the scourges of modern technology, as far as Avram and I are concerned, sealed batteries, or sealed bodies on phones, tablets, laptops, things like that, could become a thing of the past because the European Union wants to require that manufacturers allow you to change your own battery, to at least have the ability to change your own battery. That would really change the world. Apple made the sealed body popular with manufacturers. It's never been popular with consumers, but popular with manufacturers. If anybody else had pulled a scam like that, the world would have erupted and revolted. But now we have something else happening. Again, coming out of the EU. There is some new legislation going on that will involve what they're calling gatekeepers. And gatekeepers will be required to follow different rules, different laws. And Apple has been confirmed to fall under the ruling of gatekeeper. And the end result of this could be Epic Games getting their way and allowing for third-party app stores on the iPhone and iPad. It's definitely an interesting move. We almost expected it to be the end result of the Epic lawsuit here in the US. It wasn't. The Biden administration did put out an executive order that didn't have any teeth and hasn't borne any fruit yet, looking into the idea of the walled garden, particularly of Apple. But here the EU's like, no, gatekeeper, here's how it's going to work. So if this happens, as it looks like it will, this is a massive, massive change to the ecosystem of iPhone and iPad. Not so much Mac, because you can install software from outside the App Store on the Mac, but not on any of their other devices. And under certain circumstances, we could see this apply to other devices. Within the Apple ecosystem, Apple TV might come under this. Outside of the Apple ecosystem, things like Roku could come under this. It's definitely an interesting situation that has the potential to really change the landscape of mobile, Avram, right?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they get somewhere with this. I bet you after all the lawsuits, I mean, Apple's going to make a point. Samsung is going to be also in agreement with this, and probably every phone maker. They don't want to go back to having removable batteries. They don't want to make it easy for you. I mean, their argument, which a lot of people probably agree with, is, we can make the phone thinner if you can't remove the battery. So you will be harming the quality of the phone experience by having a spot to remove the battery. And I'm sure it probably does add, like, a centimeter or something to the phone.
I was hoping I had one of my Nokias around here, because I've got a Lumia around here that's thinner than either of my current iPhones, and it can change the battery.
I mean, I don't think it's like to me, it's not significant. We didn't really get a significant improvement in phone thinness or whatever. I mean, but I all the years I've never quite that we've been talking about this. I've never quite understood the point of, like, oh, my phone has to be razor thin and my laptop has to be razor thin. Like, it's an interesting parlor game. It's nice, but, like, what you really care about, I think, is that it doesn't weigh a lot and it fits in your pocket. Like, if it's a little bit thicker, like, who cares? Like,
look at the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 12. And this is going to be a problem for Apple if they want to make this argument. The iPhone 11 is thinner than the iPhone 12. It's going to be real hard for them to argue about thickness.
Well,
because
they'll say that they've
thicker.
got a bigger camera or something. Without the
camera bump. Without the camera bump, the 11 is thinner than the 12.
Maybe the CPU needs more heat dissipation.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of arguments that they could make, but I guess
the question is, will they hold water on that topic? Are they going to be able to argue it and well enough to fight the EU that really, honestly, once they make their mind up, they've made their mind up?
Right. Yeah. I mean, they might have a problem there. They
But
might
for
have a problem there.
for me, the thing that I find most interesting is the topic of um, the what's it called? The app stores. That I find super interesting. That they're actually interested in looking into the app store issue and allowing for potentially allowing for third parties, and not just allowing for, but seemingly requiring.
Yeah. I mean, that's one where they're also going to get fought tooth and nail. But I hope that they stick to their guns. You know,
Yeah,
because
it's something that I want, even as a as an Apple user. Granted, I've got devices all over the place, but as an iPhone user, I am legitimately interested in being able to use outside stores for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that the process of developing for Apple is a massive pain because of all of their hoops. If they could get rid of just
right.
the hoops for developers, it would make me happy. But it sounds like they're going to have to go a lot further than that. And, you know, that'll make me happy too. It'd be nice to be able to have, Epic Games or Microsoft have, uh, game stores that if you've purchased it on your Xbox, then you can play it on your mobile device or whatever. Microsoft's whole idea of buy it once, play everywhere. PC, Xbox, Windows Phone at one point. That would give them that ability again, and I would love to see them have that ability again.
Yeah. I mean, it's very annoying that, like you said, to have to go through everything that you have to go through to sideload, right? So
Yeah, like
it would be much easier.
all the stuff that you know one of your colleagues and I deal with is the fact that Apple locks up. You've either got to have an enterprise account or use test flight to be able to distribute things privately. But test flight times out after 90 days. We're like, all right, well, maybe somebody else will make private distribution a possibility, and we just move on with our day, and everything's good. We don't have to fight all of the weird mechanics of Apple anymore. It would be wonderful. So, personally, I'm excited about this possibility. I know there are people, particularly, Mac heavy people, who might fight this, even though it wouldn't have any impact on them unless you want it to. Might still fight this, but I think from a consumer standpoint, this would be the most consumer friendly situation across the board. USB C, more consumer friendly. Replaceable battery, more consumer friendly. Um, Third party app stores or side loading, however it, you know, ends up working, more consumer friendly. So you don't have to use any of the features, but for those who would like to, it would be nice to be able to, because you spend a lot of money on one of these devices, and Apple still pretends like they own it, not you. And for me, that's the thing that annoys me the most.
Yeah, it's extremely annoying. And they seem to think that it's their, they built a device and that just gives them um, unlimited right to do what they
Um,
to control it.
Unlimited power.
Unlimited power.
Yeah,
So
Apple, you're not He-Man. You're Apple, and it's my phone, not yours. So, uh, we'll see. The battery thing is, I think, further along than the gatekeeper processing, but we will definitely see how this goes with time. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. Still loving that music. All right. So what have you got for us this week, Avram?
well, so I wanted to talk, as we have talked a bit um, about AI stuff, about some more of the intellectual property issues that have been coming up in the week since we've talked. There's been more. I've been spending a lot of time working on kind of a follow up to my last op-ed about uh, the Google search plagiarism. I've talked to about three or four different lawyers. I've talked to a couple of ethicists. I've talked to a philosophy professor, a bunch of people to try to get some takes on whether on take a couple answers to a couple of questions. One question is, uh, is it legal what the large language models are doing when they are taking uh, training data from the open web, or perhaps in some cases from even paywalled stuff, and uh, and
Or
using
from the
it,
dark web?
right, and then using it uh, without consent or compensation. Is that fair use? The another Is that fair use, and could they be held liable in court? The other question, and of course we've seen, I think, three or four lawsuits filed in the last few weeks, uh, in just the last few weeks. And I spoke to one of the lawyers who's one of the head counsels on a lot of these lawsuits. A lot of these lawsuits are coming from the same group of lawyers. Um, so I've have some information about that, and on the uh, and of course I've also been trying to get answers to the question of the answer to the question of, do machines have a right to learn like people do, um, and do they actually learn like people do, and finally, what can you do to protect your intellectual property? So let's start with the problem. Um, for those who haven't been following along with everything that's going on with AI intellectual property, or listening to all of our prior episodes, here's the skinny. You have the large language models, the things that spit out the text or they spit out the images on demand, are all taking the data from somewhere. They have gone out largely and scraped the internet, and scraped pieces of copyrighted material that are on the internet, whether it is an article that a journalist wrote, or whether it is, in some cases, maybe not copyrighted material, but personal data. Some things that were posted by children. That's one of the lawsuits, is that it's some privacy issues are going on. Some of the things come from novels that they use as training data, because the novels had been posted somewhere, but not necessarily with permission, and certainly not with permission to be used as training data. Um, and what's going on is when they're taking this information to use it as training data, they are in effect using people's work against them, right? Like we talked about this when talking about Google's still in beta search generative experience, but it tries to answer questions by plagiarizing content from the websites that it normally would point you to. So those websites, they're getting hurt two ways. One, Google is using its monopoly position as a search engine to turn itself into a publisher and publish a competing answer, and putting it on the top of the page, uh, top of the screen. But two, they're actually copying the work from the very sites whose work they're competing with and pushing down. So the question is, can they do that? Can Google do that? Can OpenAI do that? Can Bing do that? Can they get away with that? Um, and the answer is we don't know yet. Um, and there's a legit question about whether or not it is fair use for the machine to take information from the internet and use it as part of a learning model where it creates, I'll put it in air quotes, its own answers out of the training data that it got. Now, what Google is doing, where it was copying things word for word, that is more likely to be actionable. Although we can imagine that Google will get better at plagiarism and not necessarily copy things word for word, which makes it harder to know that your work has been taken. Some of the places some of the lawsuits that I was reading, these were more from novelists. We actually haven't seen a journalistic outfit sue yet over text. We've seen Getty Images, which obviously has journalistic photographs, sue Stable Diffusion over image use, but we have not seen anybody um, anybody like who writes journalistic articles suing one of the LLMs. We have now seen several different fiction, or I guess biographical writers sue, because just today it was announced Sarah Silverman is part of another class that is suing both Meta and I think OpenAI because she and the others have some proof that their novels were taken into the training data, and there was another group of two novelists who filed suit last week, and those folks, again, they don't have access to the training data because this is closed source. So they filed suit against OpenAI based on the premise that the OpenAI knows some really detailed things about their work, and the OpenAI has been known to scrape websites where their work had been posted. And so, how could the OpenAI be able to answer all these questions about the book if it didn't have the book in its training data? So, um, that is an interesting question because the real underlying question is the fact that they have sucked up this data and turned it and have it sitting on a server somewhere as training data make it a copyright violation? Well, if you go back to the old Napster days, or even today, if you wanted to go to pirate website, if you download a bunch of songs or a bunch of movies and they're on your hard drive, your SSD, whatever, and you have not played them or distributed them, that's still a copyright violation, even though you're not likely to get busted. So, is what is having something where we clearly know that they have this data on a server somewhere, they sucked it in, is that a copyright violation? Well, some would say yes, but there's a lot of legal precedent to say no. For one thing, caching has been found to be legally protected. So the fact that Google has, for example, a cache of web pages, right? You can go to the Google and you see in the results there's the option to, like, see the cached version of a page, and we know obviously that somewhere in Google's servers they probably have cache of everything. That's legal. That was ruled to be legal based on the theory that caching is an indexing of content is what's called a transformative use. One test for fair use is, for courts to determine whether something is fair use, and therefore someone who does such a thing is not held liable for copyright infringement is the work transformative? Did you do something to the work that you took so that it's not really the same thing anymore? And a courts decided that caching or indexing of web pages, that was fair use. So just the fact that they have data on their server that they downloaded your book does not, that OpenAI downloaded your book does not necessarily, and it's sitting on their server somewhere, does not necessarily make them guilty of copyright infringement, although they would have to defend that in court as fair use as an affirmative defense. So maybe not. On the other hand, one test of transformative is the new work competing with the original work? And that is where the lawyers feel, like, for example, Matthew Butterick, who's one of the lead counsels on the Sarah Silverman lawsuit, the lawsuit with the other two novelists. I think he's not on the Getty lawsuit, but he's on another lawsuit of artists against Stable Diffusion, and he's on a lawsuit against GitHub for GitHub Copilot, and there may be one other. What he told me when I talked to him is that, if, say, someone like a Google is doing something where they're putting up work that competes with the original work, like maybe their answer is competing with your answer to the question, that could be, you might be able to say that is not a transformative work, and therefore sue them for copyright infringement. He said that there was a case not long ago where somebody took a picture of an Andy Warhol painting and modified it slightly or something, and they tried to sell it to a magazine, and the estate of Andy Warhol sued and won, saying that they were, even though they had made some modifications to the image, that what they were doing was competing with the market for the Andy Warhol original image, because that too could have been sold to the magazine. So, the plaintiff won in that case. So there's a really interesting question about whether or not using something as training data, outputting it either as imagery or text, is transformative. The other thing to keep in mind is creative expression is protected by copyright, but facts are not. So it may be much more difficult for journalistic publications like my own to, if we were to file a lawsuit, which we have no plan to do. But anyway, if a journalistic publication were to file a lawsuit, it might be more difficult for them. It would be more difficult for them because if their work isn't being copyrighted, isn't being plagiarized word for word, and just the facts of it are being taken, then facts cannot be copyrighted. So it would be more difficult to, if not impossible necessarily, to make the infringement claim versus someone who's a novelist, in which case their novels, the expression in their novels would be protected. On the other hand, if all they're doing is summarizing the novel, then that might be considered transformative. So this is something that's going to be fought out in court. And perhaps there will be some regulations. But at this point, we're all kind of, folks are all kind of waiting to see what the courts say. because it's a big problem. It's as we've said, it's a huge problem for anyone who publishes anything to the internet. If you publish a user comment, a user review, that could be taken as training data. So, and and if you're thinking, oh, I don't care if let them take my stuff as training data, I don't care if that's your opinion, but it could be personal data too. They have found that there's information about individual children in there. There's information about individual people because it was written on the internet. So, um, and it's very different than a search engine where that data can be much more easily removed. You find who owns the web. If there's false information about you on a website, you can ask that information to be expunged from search. You can try to talk to whoever's running the website. Hey, this is incorrect. Whatever. This is whatever. Get my stuff off there. But once it's in the large language model, it's really hard at this point to get it removed. Uh, One thing we've seen is large language models are terrible about keeping things up to date. They confuse old information with new information, and and they are actually training on themselves to an extent because people are posting more AI generated content to the internet. So it's just reinforcing more and more and more the same bad information. So I think we've all got a lot to be concerned about. One solution that some folks have come up with, which is definitely not a long term solution, I think, but is, I think, kind of innovative, is um, this thing called glaze. So let me show it to you. So glaze is let's see if I can just do it from here. So glaze is this is something that was created by some folks at University of Chicago, and what it does is you can take an original image of yours. This can't be a photo; it has to be like a drawing, a painting. It's meant for artists. So I downloaded. Let's see if this works here. I downloaded a um, a Monet painting of a bridge, and I'm going to turn this up very high and use the slowest. Never mind, it says 120 minutes. It'll take a minute. Um, and I'm going to I think I do save as, and I tell it where to save it. Okay, whatever. Now I'm going to run glaze. Um, it's going to analyze the image. You can do multiple images, and it's going to slightly shift the pixels around, but not in a way that is so onerous that um, that you couldn't, that most people could tell the difference. Um, so while we're waiting for that, um, let's um, let's talk for a second about something else that's been going on in this space. Um, Rather, the ethical questions. So, um, you know, there's an interesting question, which is, do machines have a right to learn like humans do? It kind of, obviously, right to learn is a little bit weird since that's not a legal right, right? Like nobody says that you have a right to learn. There's like, laws about truancy and going to school, but you kind of humans effectively have some right to learn because nobody sues you for all the things that you've learned and sort of made your own, right? You you read a book, you learned some facts, maybe you learned a skill. Nobody goes out and says, "Oh, where'd that skill come from? Where'd you learn to draw? Where'd you learn how to program this piece of code? How do you know that How do you know that the Earth is round and that the Independence Day is July 4th? What's your source for those things? I mean, at one point you learned those things, but now you kind of own them, and so you don't have to go out and say, "Oh, yeah, my source is this." I mean, if you're writing, something and you make a claim that's not general knowledge, then it is good practice to cite it, but to cite your source. But there's a lot of things that we learn and know that we don't go around spitting out links to find a source for. We may not even know what the source is anymore. So humans sort of have a right to learn like that. Do machines have a right to just say, hey, I own this knowledge and I can go out and read everything on the internet? A person who had infinite amount of time and a perfect photographic memory could do that too. But realistically, a person does not have a photographic memory, a person does not have an infinite amount of time, and a person does not have the distribution capability on their own that somebody like like a large language model does to just spit things out. So, and human learning is, sort of a process of combining it with combining what you've learned today with experiences that you've had, insights, feelings, perspectives, right? Machines don't have that. They have a table of embeddings filled with text, and they are predicting what to say next. You could argue that people are just machines predicting what to say next, but I don't think that that is an argument a lot of people would agree with. So so I don't think that, obviously it's a matter of some opinion, but I don't think that machines have a quote unquote unlimited right to learn. And we know that humans don't have an unlimited right to use machines to extend their memory. You cannot take a camera into a concert and record it and post the whole thing to the internet. I mean, people do, but you're not supposed to. You cannot, you're entitled to go to the restroom, but if they catch you wearing a full body camera into the restroom, you might be in some big trouble. So I think there's differences between what you as a person are allowed to see and what you're allowed to record. Um, anyway, back to glaze. Um, so let's take a look at uh, what glaze gave me. Um, so here's here it finished. I'm going to open up my downloads folder where it should have stored my new image. Right. So this is the highest intensity. So let's look at the original. Oops. Wants to open in Photoshop. I want to open regular. Um, oh, fine, whatever. Okay. So here's the original bridge in Photoshop. Let's see if we can tell the difference between that and the rendered one. So this is the modified one. This is the unmodified one. If you look really closely, you can see a difference, but not much of one. So what is the purpose of this? The purpose is that apparently it makes it much harder for an AI training model to copy an artist's individual style. So by shifting some of the pixels around, they
Oh.
make it so that the AI will grab, like, oh, I want a bridge, I want lilies. Great. But if you ask it to paint in the style of Monet and you were just training it on that modified image, it would probably not quite get how to do the brush strokes and the things that make the style unique. So that is what
Especially
glaze is supposed to do.
especially if you've got multiple images that have all been run through this, because obviously you have to have multiple images to be able to figure out what the style is, and the style is going to be different in each one because the pixel arrangement's going to change. So it'll be real hard
Yes.
to
Yeah.
grab onto a style if the computer is specifically screwing up the style in different ways every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Fascinating.
So I mean, so like here's their like glazes picture of what happens. Like this is what sort of they say it's the model is seeing. So, and yet to the human eye, it's not really perceptible, right? So so I think their point is artists who are posting their work online, because artists have to do that a lot, um, are are better protected by this. And then if of course the immediate question is, oh, what if somebody takes a photo of the screen or takes a screenshot? Doesn't matter because the pixels were shifted. It's not metadata. So so supposedly this is a decent solution, but of course AIs are going to get better and better at trying to, to get around this problem.
Yeah, basically, oh, basically a deblur, right? It, they'd be
It's not
able
even
to.
really a blur.
Well, I mean, as far as what I mean is, as far as the training data is concerned, the image has been changed. It's been altered. It's been blurred from its original content. At some point, they might figure out how to deblur the thing. It's something that like, God, it wasn't this year. It must have been 2020 at CES. I did an interview with a company that was able to like undo damage to images and stuff. It's possible that the same kind of technology could exist to de-damage the image, but not today.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a moving target. I think the only way that artists are going to really be protected is through regulation of some either lawsuits. I mean, the lawyers who are behind this say they think that a successful lawsuit will act a lot faster and be much more effective than trying to get politicians to pass new laws. So, so
I can see
there's
that. I can see that.
So, I mean, there's also some question about, in the case of Google, about whether it's violating some antitrust. Um, I actually spoke to an antitrust lawyer about whether it's violating any antitrust stuff with what it's doing. Although the problem is that you would have to kind of argue that you were possibly running a competing search engine. Um, rather Although they are potentially competing with you on ad serving or something. So,
Mm.
I mean, it's a difficult. They're definitely putting folks in a very difficult position now, where some of these AIs are in a lot more of a murky ground than they are uh, dealing with, say, whether they've word for word taken work or word for word taken, whether they've taken passages is working with copyrighted characters and stories.
Mm-hmm.
So um, now I, because the people who like Disney or Warner Brothers or the music industry, they don't play around. They're very happy to sue people.
Yeah.
So so if Disney, if you're listening, if you go to Google and you ask it to write a not safe for work story about any Disney character, it will do it for you. So it will write you it will on command write you stories about, well, I guess Mickey Mouse is coming into public domain, so maybe that doesn't matter.
I think
Uh,
only the original Steamboat Willie style version, though. I don't think the
yeah, but I don't.
red pants, white gloves
Right, but
version is.
since it would be a text story, I'm not sure which one it would be, which Mickey Mouse it is,
Yeah, fair
unless it
enough.
says he has red pants. But okay, let's say you asked it about something about, like, Luke Skywalker instead, because he's definitely still under copyright,
Yeah.
right? Like, they or Spider Man or whatever. Like, it will write you stories about them. Some of which, it doesn't even matter whether they're embarrassing to the or off brand or not. Like, they're now you as an individual can write fan fiction, but if if Google is doing it for you, are they profiting off of it? I
Yeah.
I would argue that they are, because they're showing you ads and they're getting your user data, and it's not the same as me sitting alone at my computer writing fan fiction. So uh, you know and one thing that I find very interesting is that Google's music service. Google has an experimental text to music generator.
Hmm.
The text to music generator will not do anything that is any even remotely related to an existing artist.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like the Google SGE or Bard, if you ask it to write a text story about anything, it will pretty much do it. But if you go to the music generator and you say, "Hey, I want something in the style of Frank Sinatra," I don't know, the style of Led
Yeah.
Zeppelin, or anybody, it will say, "Sorry, I can't do that." Like it will not even try, right? So I feel like this is sort of deliberate, and whoever made the music product was like, "Oh no, the RIAA sues people all the time. We can't,
Uh huh.
you know, we can't get involved in this." Whereas the people who do the text bots are like, "Oh, we think we can get away with this." So it's interesting what you know who they see as litigious and who they don't. Um, but
I'm
there's a good chance that they
surprised.
will.
I'm surprised that Disney is not the organization that they consider to be litigious, because everybody else does. They sued a preschool.
I mean, I my guess is that it's not that they don't consider them litigious; it's that they haven't put in guardrails to stop it, right? I think there's just a total lack of thought there
Yeah.
and lack of care uh, for
Because
intellectual property in general.
I definitely got Bing to just create an image of Mickey Mouse as Batman at Universal Studios, just just to make
Right?
sure that
Yeah.
I
So
mixed up three very competing brands.
right, and I would argue that they are profiting off of that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you could question about, well, did they how much money did they make off of your individual prompt?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they can do that kind of stuff is a draw for people to come to their site,
Yeah.
and so you know they're infringing. Like, I think I'm not a lawyer, but I think that they're contributing. I don't know. They could argue that they're like, remember we used to have dual cassette decks. They could
Mm-hmm.
argue that they're just a dual cassette deck in this equation, um, but I guess we'll see. Um, the final AI thing I wanted to say, and I know we've said a lot, is that this week we saw yet another journalistic publication start rolling out AI generated content. Uh, Geo Media, which runs Gizmodo and Deadspin and a bunch of other sites, started rolling out its first AI generated articles this week. It had, or I should say, last week, it had a listicle of the Star Wars movies in chronological order, and it was actually incorrect. It put the Clone Wars the Clone Wars and Rebels as coming after the Rise of Skywalker,
Hmm.
um, and it had no introductory paragraph, and each sentence, it was the least valuable article I've ever seen. Even if it had gotten the facts correct, because it wouldn't have been difficult for it to have you know figured out that Clone Wars is taking place before Rogue One or whatever. But the but each sentence was like, let's see, was it Force Awakens? Rey discovers she has Jedi powers. Like, that's the whole summary. Force Last Jedi. Rey continues to battle with the dark side. Jedi Rise of Skywalker. Rey has a Ray continues fighting the dark side even more. Like I mean, that's. Uh, I
Sounds
mean, there
like
was
they
like no.
sounds like it missed that 300 or 500 word target by a little bit.
No, I mean, like the whole thing might have added up to 300 words because it had a bullet point for each thing. But yeah, it was very,
I
very low quality.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like it would have had to have had 30 plus films in there to at the 8 words of summary
Yeah,
per
yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I mean, so the folks who worked there, this created quite a stir in the media and in the social media. Washington Post even reported about it. The editors actually went onto social media and said we didn't, they did this behind our back. Some person we don't know went into the CMS and put it in,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't tell us about, and didn't tell us about it or even have us edit it. And we this is embarrassing. We're embarrassed. I don't blame them for saying that either. Like I feel a lot of empathy for them, because it could happen to anybody who's working for a publication that if their management decides, hey, we want to try this. um, and
Mm-hmm.
But what I think it points out here is that it's clear that whoever put it in didn't really read it, or if they read it, they didn't understand why there was a problem, right?
Yeah.
That there was a problem. But every time these things happen, where a publication puts up information, puts up AI generated information, AI generated articles, and other people point out that the articles are full of flaws, it always comes. The answer is always, well, we need to do they'll do a better job of vetting it next time. They'll do a better job of they'll have a. It must be the fault of a human who was supposed to read it. Someone was asleep at the wheel, right? In fact, I was last week. I was interviewed on a Turkish television station, um,
Interesting.
about AI, and they asked me the question. This really resonated. Well, this question really resonated, but like really made me think. The interviewer, who is on a was TRT World is the name of the place that interviewed me there. I think it's Turkish. TRT stands for Turkish something television, and they have a show called Money Talks, which is like their business show. It's English language show, and they dialed me into the show, and the host asked me. He said, "So it sounds like businesses, can businesses trust AI?" And when I told him about the various errors they make, he said, "Oh, so it sounds like they're going to have to put a lot of resources into editing, into vetting, carefully vetting and editing the material before they roll out with it." Well, that begs a question: why roll out with it in the first place? If you hired someone and they did an absolutely horrible job, and they were unreliable, and they lied, and they made stuff up, and their work was full of flaws and errors, would you say, wow, I need a better supervisor for that person, or let me get a different person who doesn't who's reliable?
Right.
So like there's a lot of people presuming that, like, oh yeah, AI is just fine if you have the right amount of human supervision over it. But why? The I think what the Geo Media instance really showed us is the purpose of a lot of these sites rolling out with AI content is not because they think that it'll do as good a job or a better job than a person. It's that they want to have to cynically vomit content up onto the internet and hope that it will get ranked in Google and someone will click on it. And once a person's clicked on it, whether it's actually good or not is beside the point. Um, and, that's what we always call clickbait, whether it's made by a human or made by an AI. And, you know, first of all, there's very little future for that kind of content. We already are concerned that Google is making that kind of content itself. Why on earth would Google link to your crappy AI generated content when it can generate its own crappy AI generated content instead? Um, In fact, Gizmodo's article did
And
not rank in the. Yeah.
and if Google keeps the secret sauce, then they can essentially outrank you even with quality of
Right.
their crappy AI generated nonsense. They could even theoretically outrank you with quality.
Right. Right. I mean, there's no like what there's no future in low quality content. There's no future in it. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm not even really like, I think what some of these companies are trying to do is they're trying to say, oh, look, we can save money. We can generate traffic. Maybe we can replace humans, some human staffers. I mean, there was another website, I forget the name of it, some really not small time gaming news site that got rid of all of their staff, and then they listed an open full time job for an AI editor whose job it is to publish 200 AI generated articles per week
Woof.
on gaming news. 200 200 articles a week. So how much time do you think that editor is going to have to edit those 200 AI generated articles? It's probably going to be all the time they have just to come up with a prompt. I mean, the reality is if you are putting out AI contents because you don't want to have quality human intervention.
Right.
So there's no point like to say, oh yeah, you need to get more and better editors to edit the AI content. Why don't you just get those more and better editors to write the AI content?
Right.
To write the content. Like if seriously, if the AI is such a poor writer that we need to throw a lot of human resources at it to make it look good, why are we using it in the first place? Like, why don't you just have the human do it? Like, as an editor, I have to say that like it's a lot easier to sit there and write my own article than it is to have to rewrite something that is really off base.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I have, you know, our goal as editors is to hire people who are good and do the minimum amount of changes to their work,
Yeah.
not have somebody who's consistently bad and and worry about, did I let something bad slip through because I can't trust this person, or gee, this sounds really convincing, but like I have writers who know about things that I don't know as much about as them. They're subject matter experts, right?
Mm-hmm.
How am I like, so they might say something and I'm kind of counting on them to be an authority and know more than me. If I have like this idea that you're going to have all these really brilliant fact checkers who know everything that they've asked the AI to prompt, they know more than the AI or as much as the AI, and therefore can detect any kind of mistake, is just not for real.
Yeah.
In that case, you should have humans. Anyway,
As a
so
note,
that's
so 200 articles, 40 hours, 2,400 minutes, works out to 12 minutes per article, and that includes prompt, edit, image generation, link inclusion, all the things that go with publishing an article that people who don't do it regularly don't necessarily know about, and then publishing. 12 minutes per piece.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know if their system puts the text directly into the CMS either.
Right.
My guess
Sure
is
enough.
most of them probably, like if you're using ChatGPT, it doesn't do that for you.
No.
You got to copy it and paste it into whatever CMS you're using.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't give you images with the text. You got to
Right.
have at least something, right? So yeah, it's gonna be, yeah, you
12
got
minutes.
it. I can't imagine who would want to do the job though. It's a really, like, that's the other thing. You're getting smart creative people, or you hope smart creative people. Who's going to want to be who's going to want to do the job of being the ghostwriter for an AI?
Yeah. Yeah, true. Or ghost AI being ghostwriter for you. However that.
No. I mean, if it's an AI byline,
Oh,
and you
yeah,
are
yeah.
supposed to go in
I
there
understand.
and clean it up so the AI looks good, like how soul sucking is that? Like, whoever is an editor, they got into this because they wanted to write. But hey, you're not good. We don't care for you. You don't get a byline. The AI bot gets a
Yeah.
byline. Just make them look good.
Yeah.
Just make them look. Make the AI look good.
See, that's how the battle between Skynet and humans happens. It's not Skynet trying to attack humans. It's a human who was told, you're not even getting credit for this. We're going to credit the computer that goes on a rampage against the server farm.
Yeah. I mean, it's anyway. So anyway, I talked to you off enough, but you can learn more about this at tomshardware.com. We are going to have we have some articles up about it, but I'm going to have another article up about the copyright issues and the right to learn coming later this week after Prime Day is over. But until Prime Day, I can't work on any much else. But do check us out for Prime Day, Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Go to tomshardware.com. We will be finding you. We are even now before Prime Day finding you deals. There is a fantastic deal. This is a fantastic time to buy an SSD. Right now, you can get a Samsung 980 Pro, a really great SSD for $99 for 2 terabytes.
Wow.
5 cents a gigabyte. And that's for really fast. If you want something a little less fast, you can do it for $70 for 2 terabytes. Definitely this is a great time to upgrade your storage, to upgrade your RAM, to do a new build if you want. Stay tuned.
It's a really great price. I can't help but think of that. What was it? Was it a 256 megabyte SD card that Nick once bought for, I think it was $219?
Everything. This is totally predictable.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be laughing at the price. Whatever goes on with storage and memory, you can guarantee that in X number of years you will be absolutely laughing at what you paid for today.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I remember having SD cards just where I'm sitting. I'm looking at 6 of them just lying here in the studio for whatever reason. And we looked up that receipt and we're like, oh my god, 256 megabytes. You can't even do anything with that these days.
Yeah, no joke. That'd be like one image file.
I know, right? Oh my goodness. Absolutely ridiculous.
No, you know what? That'd be like 20 JPEGs.
Yeah.
Put 20 JPEGs in them.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, I really enjoyed this one, Avram. It's a fascinating topic. Obviously, as writers ourselves, seeing this stuff closing in from the outside can be scary. Coming at us from different directions. But it's good to see that there's things happening. They're not. First of all, the technology is embarrassing itself, as we saw with Gizmodo. We also see that there's some movement on the legal front as well that hopefully will have some teeth to it over the coming months. I will tell you though, there are some AIs, LLMs that work in context. We've talked about it. The thing that I was turned on to that can listen to this episode and then write me a summary entirely contained to what we say and not going outside of our content and stealing somebody else's. That's a whole different concept. But yeah, when it just goes out
AI
and steals
is
other
great for
people's
that.
stuff.
We can't use the word the word AI is so vague and nebulous that it's not like
blockchain
no one
and
should
cryptocurrency
say,
or
I'm
metaverse.
pro AI or I'm anti anti-AI. There's many different use cases, and even the term AI is meaningless because it's not artificial intelligence. It's not a sentient being. It's simply pattern recognition. So pattern recognition and predictive response. So yeah, it's fantastic for doing something like what you described. It's fantastic for transcribing audio. Awesome, great,
Yeah, it
wonderful.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate all this. The glacier, is that what it's called?
Glaze
Glaze is super cool.
like a donut.
That's super cool. I definitely want to play with that. And as always, Avram, I appreciate it, and I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. So in the gaming world, the modern gaming world, one of the things that we have lost is the ability to buy and sell used games. Now, in the old days, we had cartridges, we had CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays. Today, we mostly deal with digital distribution. It was one of the big concerns with the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, was their focus on digital distribution. Microsoft came up with the solution for being able to share games. GameStop tried to create a way to buy, sell, and trade used titles, but nobody got on board, and I'm pretty sure the idea went away. But we have a platform that has been in beta for seemingly a long time. I think it's been a couple of years now, called Robot Cash. And this system is designed specifically to be able to buy and sell used games. It works on blockchain. You can make purchases through cash or the cryptocurrency of the platform, which is called Iron. You can earn Iron by selling games, or there's challenges and stuff based into the platform that you can use as well. And through that, you can earn the cryptocurrency and then make purchases with it. But the thing that makes it really interesting is that ability to buy and sell used titles. Now, the way they've gotten through this is by getting the developers and publishers on board, because when a used game is sold, 25% of the value goes to the person who owned it, 70% goes to the studio, and then 5% goes to Robot Cash. That's how they keep their lights on. It's a really interesting concept. It's just coming out of beta now. It's been in beta a long time. It's coming out of beta, I think, this week. They are giving away a free game as part of it. Wasteland 3, if you sign up, you can grab the game for free right now. At the very least, that's, worth it to get the free game. But it's definitely an interesting concept. I'm curious how it's going to work, though. Not like technologically. I understand technologically how it works. But I'm really curious about whether this is going to succeed or not. What do you think, Avram?
So here's my question. I don't know if we have the answer is, How many developers have opted into this? I assume for every game that they have listed, the publisher has to agree to it, right?
Yes. Yeah. Because I think the only things that they're selling through the store are games that can then later be resold. And I'll tell you, like, on here, we've got Destroy All Humans, obviously Wasteland 3. My browser has locked up. The website is really weird. Like, I don't know if it's like super
Lumberjack's
JavaScripty.
Dynasty.
I don't know if it's super
Lumberjack Dynasty.
I don't know if it's super JavaScripty or what, but every time I come here, no matter what computer I'm on, it locks up. But like, it does seem like there's a lot of publishers in here, and if they can show any success, any success with this, they'll get more.
So
The studios and
my
publishers that are
question
missing
though
will
is,
join in later.
if you're a publisher, why would you participate in this? Because you're basically giving away 30% of your profit, 30% of your profit on a game right off the bat.
Uh, it's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. Um, I guess one possibility would be that you're only giving away that 30% on secondary sales, which ends up with basically selling for 170%. If it's resold once, you get 170%. And if it's an online game, you've only got one active user at a time.
Okay, but you and this is always the interesting question when it comes to this is the interesting question when it comes to a lot of things. How do you know that the person who bought it at who bought it at a lower price? Oh, and remember, wait, it's they're not just losing 30% because they're getting 70% of what's probably a lower price because it's a used game, right? So it's not
Potentially.
even 70%. It's not
Potentially.
even 70%. If the original game was $60 and then there's a person selling it used for $30, you're not getting 70% of $60, you're getting 70% of $30.
True.
So you're losing more than that. Um, but if that game wasn't available used, then the person who wants it would have to pay the $60.
True.
Therefore, you're getting the whole $60. Now,
True.
the question in all these cases is, would that person have not bought the game if it was not that price?
Mm-hmm.
But um,
And it also
but
comes to the the price difference. Like, is that like 30? Let's just go with whole numbers. Is that $30 difference on an infrastructure level a bonus to have two users potentially active on the system, as opposed to losing that 30 and only having one user active on an online game? There's all kinds of weird calculus that goes
but
into this.
but you see, I think most people would just buy it through Robot Cash, which I understand there'd have to be a limited number of copies or whatever, but they'd buy it, like, depending on how much scarcity there is on Robot Cash, for like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I want to get this game, but I can't get it because not enough used people are selling it used or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like that, something like that would have to happen for people to not say, well, if I can get this for a lesser price, why wouldn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Especially because unlike some sites that are key sellers, right? Like there's a lot of sites out there that will sell you game keys,
Right.
and there's real questions about whether those keys are legit,
Right.
right? Um, so versus a game key thing, this is obviously a big plus for them. But on the other hand, if they are cooperating with Robot Cash, then that means that the game is guaranteed to work. And so they can't, so you can't say like, oh, well, you could get a key that doesn't work, and then you've got a problem, or they could deactivate your key at some point
Mm-hmm.
if it's pirated. But if this is quote unquote supported and legit to the publisher, then there's no reason not to buy a used game. It's not like, I mean, what are the reasons you wouldn't buy a used physical media game? I'm worried that it's scratched. They don't scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have it in my GameStop, the one that I
Right.
want. It's missing the instructions.
The box.
Some the box. The person who used it might have had cooties. I don't know. I don't know if
Licked
that's a
it.
real thing. But it could be, I don't know. It's just always something nice about it, something that no other person touched except someone in the factory probably touched it. Um, so
We used
like
to say at Radio Shack, untouched by American hands.
You're right. So untouched, right? Untouched outside of the factory, right? So right. So, but none of those concerns exist with this digital only media. You don't have to worry about
Mm-hmm.
any of those problems because you were going to buy it digitally and now you bought it digitally. You were going to buy it digitally from Steam or Epic and now you bought it
Mm-hmm.
digitally from here. Like, what difference does it make to you? Like,
True.
uh, so so
I
yeah, I mean,
wonder.
I think this would be dangerous for them.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how much stuff comes with the purchase. I wonder if it's just the CD or does it come with all the character data? I don't know.
Oh, you
That
mean the
would be
person
fast.
saves?
That
I
would be
hope not, because
fascinating. I hope not too.
I don't think I don't think you have to upload your game. I think they have the game, and they're just getting
You
your license.
so you're purchasing the game. This is a digital. This is a instead of Steam. So the original person has to have purchased it as a full product from here, from what I understand,
All right,
and then put it back up for sale later. So everything lives within this ecosystem.
right.
The
I
original
mean,
purchase, the repurchase, from what I understand.
I'm sure some publishers will go for this. I mean, after all, it's not like these games are like, after they recoup their costs, which are obviously could be quite significant. Like, it's not like it doesn't cost them anything for an additional person to get it, as you say, right? So
Right.
so they don't have to mint another CD.
Right.
So there's some who will say, hey, there's some publishers will say, hey, my game, I need, you know, I need more people getting my game. But I think the top games, the top publishers are not going to participate. That's my guess.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens with this. It is a fascinating concept, but I don't know. Like you said, I don't know what the market positioning on it is, and it will be interesting to see how all of that goes. It's been operating in beta for a while now. It's just coming out of beta now, but like we saw with NVIDIA, the GeForce Now, coming out of beta was the mistake that they made.
Right.
That was when all eyes were on them and things went sideways. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on it. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus it actively blocks threats like worms, rogues, dialers, trojans, spyware, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. If you haven't been paying attention to social media this week, something interesting happened. Meta launched a competitor for Twitter. Now, Twitter has been in a weird place lately since Elon Musk made his purchase of the company, possibly on accident or whatever happened there. It has been a little bit like watching a roller coaster where if you saw the roller coaster that has the crack in the pole, a little bit like riding that roller coaster because it's a constant fear of something falling off, getting lost. That's been the feeling for kind of everybody on Twitter over the last couple of months. Other organizations have tried to fill the void. There was blood in the water, and the sharks are out. The largest of those sharks, either ironically or purposefully, was Mastodon. They came in and tried to fill the void. The sign-up process is not particularly user-friendly, which has caused problems for user growth over there. Then there was Blue Sky, which started inside of Twitter and got spun out at some point, and seems to still be spinning somewhere. But Meta's Instagram launched what was originally known internally as Project 92. Today is known as Threads. It is... Interestingly, it's possible that Elon Musk best described it as Instagram without the photos. And in fact, it's almost exactly Instagram, except when you post an image, it's below the text instead of above. The iconography is very similar. It's a more rounded off version of the icons, but overall the iconography is even the same, heart and paper airplane, all the things that we've come to know on Instagram, mostly follows over. But Threads is confusing. I've been spending a lot of time on it, trying to wrap my head around it. And the thing that I have come away with is that's what everybody's doing. Everybody's trying to wrap their head around exactly what Threads is and what Threads will become. Right now, there are a bunch of brands that are acting strangely. For example, one of the social media managers for IGN posted a picture of their dog today and said, I know this is IGN's account, but I wanted you to see Daisy. I feel like if they did that on Twitter, that would have been the end of their job.
Maybe the boss isn't watching.
It's a great analogy because that is the whole feeling on Threads. Nobody's boss is watching because nobody knows what it is. And so I've been describing it as a kaleidoscope because occasionally you can see what you want to see. And then if you move even a little bit, back to chaos. Because the feed has nothing to do with you. And as more accounts join, it's less to do with you. Like, I've made a couple of new friends on Threads in the early hours. We're quickly approaching 100 million claimed accounts. As we sit here now, it's well over 90 million. And, I was active under 500,000, and so I'd see a lot of the same people. And so, I posted, one of my first posts was, I don't understand what's happening here. The Uber feed seems to just be sheer chaos. And somebody, who I don't know, who I'm not following, who is not following me, commented and said, I was about to say the same thing, and then a random person I don't know said it first, so I'm just going to go with yours. It's this weird, discovery platform right now. Because It doesn't matter who you follow and who you don't follow. Unless you've muted people, there are accounts you're guaranteed to see. And it's not because they're paying for that view. You're just going to see them. They're not people you're interested in. Most of what I see through the feed is not anything I'd possibly be interested in. And I've been going on a blocking and muting spree to try and rein it in. It's chaos.
They have to know that's not a good idea, right?
I don't know. Because I don't
Why
know.
can't they?
I don't know if they know what it is yet. There's a whole language that's being developed by the community on the platform in real time, which has been fun to watch. What do we call a post on here? Is it a thread? Is it what are we doing? Are we threading? Are we weaving? What, like, there's this whole language that's developing in real time in posts. It's kind of like a group chat that has gotten way out of hand.
I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe, I mean, look, they got to do, if they were to put the effort into it, there's no question that Meta could be a serious competitor to Twitter, because Twitter is going off the rails. Like, it's really, really going off of the rails, but there's not a great heir apparent, right? Like, Mastodon is too confusing.
Yeah.
Like, I set up an account, but like, you could be on one Mastodon server and you need to set up an account on another Mastodon server. And like, it should be across servers because they're federated, but it doesn't seem to work that way. So that's frustrating. Like Blue Sky, I guess, but it's a whole new thing. They're taking something that's already has a user base from a company that knows how to do social media, right?
They got 4 of them already,
right? So there's so like, they're in a great position to do this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying,
and it's using existing Instagram accounts. So they've already got a massively active user base. They were able to send push notifications to everybody. Hey, Threads is ready. Click here. And all you have to do is hit a button. It imports your profile. You hit another button. It follows all of your friends as they create their Threads accounts. Automatically.
Yeah. So, I mean, they know how to do this. I'm not to say that this actually is turning Zuckerberg into, like, this is the best thing for Zuckerberg's reputation. I think that's happened in a while, because he actually looks sane. He actually looks sane and reasonable now. I mean, I just had up here what Elon Musk said today, actually this hour. I won't even repeat, but he's like going around, like, this is what the richest man, or one of the richest men in the world, has time to do with himself, I guess, because he has so much money. It doesn't matter if he loses most of it. He's going around posting. People are asking about Threads, and he's going around posting Zuck is a cuck.
Yeah, I saw that.
Asking,
I saw that as a screenshot of the tweet on Threads, just as a note.
Right. He also said less than an hour ago that he would like to get into a contest with Zuckerberg where they measure each other's genitalia to see who has the biggest.
Okay.
Like, so that is the kind of business person, business genius that owns Twitter now. Like,
and
that.
I have argued for a long time that he is no business genius. He ended up on the right side of the argument about PayPal or something. And the rest of it is accidents.
I mean, the thing is, I don't know if this is what this shows, is that he was always this eccentric and he's gotten the platform to do it, or and he's gotten enough money that he no longer cares, or whether what it really shows is that if you get this much money, you don't care about earning money anymore, and it's just a plaything.
Yeah.
Where like for you and I, like we would be like, hey, we need more money, but maybe there's a point at which going from like 50 billion to 100 billion is meaningless. Like,
Right.
what are you going to do with the other 50 billion?
Right.
Oh, I guess you might as well have a good time, acting like a 12-year-old on social media. So like, whereas like I don't know what kind of people they are in private, but Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg, like they're in this to make money, like,
Mm-hmm.
or it's seemingly so, right? Like they don't make business decisions about what feeds their ego today,
Right.
or who they dislike and want to insult or whatever. It's like,
Right.
no, I want to do what's good for business for
Mm-hmm.
making money. So yeah, I mean, Twitter is in a bad place, and not just because of the personality, not just because Elon Musk says alienating things that are embarrassing to the brand. I mean, that would be one thing, but things like last week when they started to limit the amount of tweets people could see,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, uh, the fact that they've had technical problems because they let people go. They've gotten rid of a lot of the people who do moderation. Uh, like at, you'd advertisers really, it's not a brand safe place to be. Um, so yeah, I mean, like there's nothing that Twitter does. The value that comes to Twitter is who's there.
Yeah.
The technology is not hard to reproduce.
Right.
So this business of him threatening to sue or suing
Mm-hmm.
Meta because they copied his design, like it's not like IRC or something. It's
Claiming that they hired former Twitter employees for their knowledge, and then the head of legal, maybe for Meta, posted on Threads, "We do not employ a single former employee of Twitter
oh
on the Threads team." So,
oh okay. So I mean, I was reading that everywhere, and I guess I assumed that it was correct. Although it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters because what they're asking, like, there's nothing secret about
no.
how to program something that shows stuff in a threaded that design. Like, there's no
Yeah.
magic to it. It's not some special algorithm or whatever. I mean, it's actually clear that they haven't done a lot of work on the algorithm.
Correct.
Um,
Or they have, and they
that's
have a weird idea that they're testing. It's possible. The thing I keep reminding people of is we are part of a very public alpha.
right.
Because
Um,
2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I wrote an article for a show we didn't do because of personal things. I wrote an article about Project 92, and they didn't have a release window for it yet. And here we are 2 weeks
right.
later, and it's in the wild. There's almost 100 million users. This is the most public alpha of software that has ever been. There's no account switching. There's I even stuff that's in Instagram. And it seems like they just like right click copied the solution for Instagram and pasted it and started from there. And there's still
Right.
things from Instagram that aren't here. So let me give you an idea of the thing that's happening over there, right? So on my feed, I have NVIDIA GeForce Philippines posted, "Happy Video Game Day. How are you celebrating?" And Logitech G replied, "Caffeine and video games not necessarily in that order." This is the kind of like weird conversations between brands that is happening a lot. There's so much like as I scroll, there's Gaming posted and Logitech replied. Razer posted and Logitech replied. Like I don't know what's happening here. I see more brand stuff than I do people stuff at this point. So I don't know what this is. I don't think anybody knows what it is. I think everybody's playing around and hoping somebody will figure it out.
Right. Yeah. Who knows?
All I can say is,
I mean,
it's
I think
been
it's
a
a good
really
idea.
fun weekend.
I mean, I just haven't had I haven't had any time to play with it. I really do want to play with it because, look, first of all, I see Twitter's in some trouble. I actually spend a lot of time on Twitter. I probably spend more time on Twitter now than I did before, uh, before it was in trouble. And I don't know why. I guess I found interesting people to stuff to read and whatever, and that's fine. Like it's still like a decent user experience. The problem is that the platform is sinking, right? But I mean, all that Twitter would need to get back to being an okay user, to being okay, would be to have competent people who were committed to keeping it stable and not just trying to like squeeze you for money. Uh, run it. But at the present time, that doesn't look good, and they're hurting the value. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But I have to try these other platforms because if there's a chance someone will click a link that I'll put on them, I gotta I gotta try it. Now Twitter doesn't really result in a lot of traffic for most websites that post their stuff to Twitter.
Yeah.
That's a known fact. Facebook actually recently has done a lot to hurt. This is out there in sort of the SEO community.
Yeah.
Facebook recently, as of like May, mass changed something where people are getting a lot less traffic from Facebook, putting links on Facebook than they used to. And Facebook also put a warning message on external links for no apparent reason. I guess one way to try to discourage people from clicking. So like,
Interesting.
you click on it. I don't know if this happens all the time, but it seems to happen a lot. You see something in Twitter, you click on the link, and then it says like, "Warning, you're leaving Facebook." Like on Facebook, "Warning, you're leaving Facebook." Why do I need a warning? It's a link. I know that, but I think that's going to like, and then you got to click. Okay, I want to leave. So I think those sorts of things are designed to keep people from leaving.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a couple people. There might be people watching right now that have come through Threads tonight. So it's because I posted it over there just to see what would happen, and I think I've seen some click-throughs on it. So, but tomorrow, who knows? Because it's this weird, ever-evolving platform. What it is today is not what it was on Friday. So, I don't know. It's a weird moving target, and it's been a fun weekend of watching this weird thing happen. I'm glad that I was in like super early. I'm not Aussie Man, whose account ID I think is 219, but Netflix is 92, I think. But I'm a little up there. I like it. I'm in the 300,000s. So I've been watching it kind of since the first hour, and it's been just a wild ride watching as the I don't know, the environment has changed. How like what it is has changed over the last couple days. It's been a lot of fun. If you're on Threads, PLUGHITZ Live is on there, so check us out. We can chat over there. It's an interesting experience. If you're not there and you got an Instagram, at least give it a shot, because what do you got to lose? This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. We all know that you get free shipping on millions of products with Amazon Prime, but you get a whole lot more. Like free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming. Plus, a whole lot more. We've got links to all of these features and some of our favorites, plus a 30-day free trial, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. If you don't already have Prime, definitely go grab that free trial before Prime Day this week, because you're probably going to want it. Anyway, so another company, we just talked about Twitter and the weird position they're in. Another company that's been in a weird position lately has been Reddit. They've had a very wild 2023 so far. They were involved in a lawsuit that they weren't involved in that the plaintiffs wanted Reddit to unmask some of their users for conversations they had about not anybody involved in the lawsuit. Reddit said no. They went to the court to try to compel. The court said no. Then they seemed to be inspired by Elon Musk and Twitter's high fees for API access, and they tried to pull the same thing. A lot of communities went private in protest. There have been all kinds of interesting things as a result of that. As of right now, nothing has changed over there. But seemingly in a bit of circular karma, the company has now gotten itself involved in another lawsuit with the same plaintiffs, a semi-new defendant, and a familiar claim. So the first lawsuit was against an ISP that kind of doesn't exist anymore called RCN. RCN is now owned and operated entirely by Astound Broadband. The claim was that they had not done enough to prevent piracy on the network that they knew was happening. They wanted Reddit to unmask some people from a piracy subreddit that had discussed a similar thing, but having nothing to do with RCN. The new lawsuit, same plaintiffs. The defendant is now, I think, Grande, Grande. I'm going to assume that's being pronounced as Grande. Another ISP that was acquired by Astound Broadband. The lawsuit is exactly the same, and the request of Reddit is exactly the same. But I think it's happening in a new court in front of a new judge. So they're trying the exact same request that was already denied by a judge once, again, under the exact same circumstances. A little bit like banging your head against the wall and hoping you can open a hole. It seems like a lost cause already to me.
Yeah. I mean, they should give up. I mean, it's just, I'm glad that Reddit is trying to defend the privacy of its readers. I mean, considering how much trouble Reddit is in right now with its readers,
right?
The CEO there is kind of taking a position to let them eat cake on other stuff. So I'm surprised they're continuing to do this, but I guess it's the least thing that they can do. Besides, who are they to help another business? Like, why should they help another business out?
Fair enough.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not their problem per se, although I know a lot of companies would say, hey, we'll turn that data over because we don't want to spend billable hours on a lawyer responding to this.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't go into a full lawsuit or you win, it costs money.
Yeah. I don't know. It's all so strange. I feel a little bit like what they're up to with the API is almost identical to what we were just talking about with you're about to leave the site. Do you mean to? on Twitter and or Facebook.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like it's a little
Facebook. It's
similar.
Facebook,
Like
not Twitter.
Facebook, okay, where they
Yeah.
they're trying to corral people and keep them internal. Um, and by having open API access, these third-party UIs don't serve any of Reddit's ads or whatever the thing is, and so they feel that they're just losing revenue to that, and so they're trying to
I,
close that up. I don't know if that's what it is. It's just a weird feeling that
I,
I'm getting.
I, no, I mean, that makes sense. Look, I get it, right? Because we're all in that boat, right? Um, I get why Reddit would want to do that because they need, like, they're providing a service, they're providing a
Mm-hmm.
community, and if somebody is just using the API to get the data and they're not paying for it, then
Mm-hmm.
that means that people are not incented to go to reddit.com where they see ads, where they are,
Right.
where they're monetized. And
Or
yeah, I get
Reddit's
it. Like
or
you,
Reddit's apps. Now, in the past, Reddit didn't really have solid apps that worked at all. And then they went and they built apps, but these third parties are still better. That's why people
right,
want to use them. It's why people continue to use them. Um, if Reddit worked harder on their own app, it may not be a problem. If Reddit, forced add content into the API, which they could theoretically do,
yeah,
they might be able to get around this. I don't know. It,
right.
but
I
but
mean,
being in this position, I think the only thing they can do is is throw elbows on every other topic. So I
right,
think that's
right,
why I think they have to fight this. They have to throw elbows in court here, or they're going to absolutely lose all of the remaining trust of their reader base.
right. And just like Twitter, it's not the technology
Right.
that makes Reddit a success. It's the people. So annoy the users at your own risk. It's
Mm-hmm.
not someone could make another Reddit
Yeah.
like very
Dig.
very 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 easily. Uh, but the difficulty is getting people to come there.
Yeah.
Technologically speaking, it's very easy. It's very easy to do.
Discord.
So yeah, well, yeah, Discord could do it. Uh, yeah, there's some things that I'm on It's interesting you say. There's some things I'm on Discord for, and some things I'm on Reddit for.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
like the things that are a little bit more exclusive seem to be on Discord.
Mm-hmm.
So like I got invited to a like prompt injection Discord where like the
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
prompt injection researchers chat back and forth about like vulnerabilities that they found. So like,
I mean, that sounds like a fun place to be.
yeah, yeah. So, like that's not on Reddit, right?
Right.
Like that, I mean, maybe it's partially because I don't know if they want everybody in the world in there, but also, there's constraints in Reddit. So, um,
Yeah, I was just say
so,
there's private invite only subreddits.
uh, so I don't know, but yeah, there's people who use Discord, but on the other hand, Discord like doesn't really work great on the web. They really want you to have the app.
Yeah, they do.
Um, which is annoying. I don't like having all these apps for things that could just be done through the web browser.
Mm-hmm.
So um, so I don't know. I have
Especially since I think Discord
so
is built in web tech,
yeah.
just like
I mean
Teams.
it works in the web, but it just seems to be like I don't know. I also have a problem switching back and forth accounts. It's somehow I've signed up for some on one account and some on another account, and I can't
Mm.
easily like it's make it really hard to switch accounts. Um, so yeah. Anyway, um, so yeah, it would be very easy for somebody to just as it is with Twitter, very easy
Yeah.
for somebody to recreate the technology. It's all about the
Or
people.
or
and therefore
repurpose
you shouldn't upset the people.
or repurpose the technology, which is what Threads is, right? It's a repurposed Instagram.
Right.
Discord
Right.
could repurpose Discord and, essentially build a Reddit replacement probably in about 3 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the back end is
they could.
probably similar, if not identical.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think that's why I think they have to be out there throwing elbows on this stuff, because they've got to save face. They have doubled down on this whole API thing. So I think the only thing they can do is try to save face elsewhere. And that's why they're still like publicly fighting this. They're not even privately fighting it. They're publicly fighting it. I think they have to do that. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
So my guess is this is going to go exactly the same way. There's literally precedent on the books for it already. So unless one of these cases ends up in a higher court, I don't know that the studios have any standing here for this. So my guess is by the time we're back together for our next show, this will be over. That's my feeling. And I hope that's the case, because obviously in this case, Reddit is in the right. These people are not involved in this case. They were talking about something else, and they're trying to be unmasked. No, that it seems like the craziest of requests. So hopefully Reddit wins once again on this one.
Yep.
Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. There were a bunch of you tonight. We always appreciate that. If you're joining us live, you're always welcome to chat. Whether you're on YouTube, Twitch, or Kick, we can see your chats in the studio. So definitely give us your feedback during the show. If you're not able to join us live, that's okay as well. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you can see all of our shows and all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. Almost all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. We do not have a link to Threads yet, or Kick anywhere. They're both new to us this week, so they will be on there in pretty short order, though. So, but yeah, if you're on Threads, look us up, PLUGHITZ Live. If you're on Kick, look us up, PLUGHITZ Live. If you haven't checked out Kick, definitely do. It's basically Twitch, but not owned by Amazon. It's an interesting thing. I'm really interested. Somebody's funding them big because there are a couple of exclusive Mixer style contracts that have gone out in the last 2 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over there. So we're playing around. Join us over there if you want. But I think with that, that will do it for us for the week. On behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we'll see you back next time. Ciao.